Welcome to Unscripted with Russo. I'm your host, Ashley Russo, president and executive producer of The Peak TV. For our podcast, we decided to explore the people behind the narratives. I'll introduce decision makers and influencers who are winners in their field and find out the intimate story behind their rise to success. Welcome, everybody, to Unscripted with Russo. This is a very special day. Very excited here at 410 Main Street in Hellertown because we have Danny Roebuck, the one and only actor, director, writer. He is here in Bethlehem visiting us. Thank you, Danny, for being here.
I'm so excited to be here, but I'm a little taken back. This is unscripted. I usually do work with the script. Is there any way you could write my answers
one really
for me?
quickly, and we'll get cue cards ready really quickly.
You know how when you're married and you finally just go, just tell me what you want me to say.
What am I supposed to do? What answer are you looking for?
Give me the line reading you want, and then I'll say it that way because I don't want to have this argument anymore.
And when you're married long enough, you start to learn the lines to the script.
You know
that
exactly
go
what
in
you
this
mean.
situation.
And by the way, to say that I meant my previous marriage, my current marriage. I'm with Tammy Roebuck, my wife and producing partner. We're together 6 years, married 3, and we've yet to have one argument. That's a fact.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Well, you're a native of this area. I don't know that everyone knows that. I think they do now, but maybe they don't. So tell me a little bit about where you grew up and kind of your family structure.
Sure. I grew up in Bethlehem, me and Jesus. And I grew up in Bethlehem, and I was I was always a kid who liked things that were unique and strange. Like you're 12 feet from this cave. All we ever wanted to do was come to this cave, Lost River Cavern.
Lost River Cavern.
That's all we wanted to do.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's so cool, and it's right here. I was just a goofy kid in Bethlehem. I discovered an interest in writing, producing, directing. It sounds ridiculous, but at 6, I was already doing plays. Although I couldn't write a play, I would draw pictures of the play, and then we would do the play.
And who is we?
Whatever sucker kid, I could be like, you're an actor now. I like to tell a story if you don't mind me telling. I went to St. Anne's in Bethlehem, and I'm a product of 12 years of Catholic school education. And at St. Anne's in first grade, I've told the story. I would go in. I had seen some Popeye cartoon where they drew pictures and made a cartoon in the cartoon. And my takeaway was, I'm going to draw pictures and make a play. Because I couldn't make a cartoon, but back then, you're younger than me, but in my age, Ashley, in first grade, you didn't know how to read and write. That's where the nuns or your teacher would teach you how to read and write.
That was still true in my day, many years later.
I find that hard to believe. Because now they're like, my kid is
18 months old and he can read a novel.
Yeah, and everybody's kid is smarter than everybody else's kid. No. And I would look at my kids and think, there might be something wrong with these kids. They haven't painted a painting for the Louvre and they're already 4.
They didn't do an architectural design for their bedrooms?
Yeah, none of that. Yeah. So the end of the story is I walked into this room and this nun, Sister Kathleen, and that's a name we'll bring up in a little bit when we're hopefully talking about what's coming up. But Sister Kathleen, this nun, when I said I wrote a play and I gave her this stupid pile of paper, like it must have looked like the musings of a mental patient, she said, oh, all right, let's do your play. So I credit her in that moment with really being she lit the fuse, and it's been like a rocket of fire.
It's amazing how one person can do one thing that has that kind of influence. Funny, so you were writing and directing at that age, and at around the same age, when I was like 7 or 8, I started a group of kids also who I think were suckers in the neighborhood, that we used to dress up and go door to door, proposing to sell their home, to start a business for them. I mean, every week I had a different business
because
I knew I was going to be an entrepreneur. I don't know.
You knew it.
Yeah.
But I want to tell you something. This isn't a little thing. This is a big thing. And if your listeners can take one thing out of this conversation, it's that God in his infinite wisdom unfolds all of our lives in front of us. He gives us the opportunity to know not what he expects of us, but what we're capable of. And he tells us all that when we're young.
Yes, and I totally agree with that. And I also think that it is the message is not to discount children's hopes and dreams, what they think they can do. Who are we to say they can't? And to have somebody like Sister Kathleen, who said, looked at this crazy little drawing and said, "We're going to do this.
We're gonna do it." Yeah.
I love that.
Anyway, so that's I think it's a big it's a issue for me. I talk to a lot of kids, and I really want them to understand that the information's there. When my kids were learning how to drive, and you'd go down the freeway and you'd be like, that's when everybody finds God. I'm full of grace, Lord. And all the red lights would be like, you'd see red light, and your kid would be like,
yeah.
And I'd say, all the information you need is in front of you. Like, when you see what they're breaking, you're breaking. So anyway, that's just like life.
Where do you go at that point? So this spark happens inside of you. What else are you interested in? Like in your childhood, and I think of you, like, describe yourself at 9. I mean, are you high energy? Are you sports? Are you music?
Am I sports?
They tried. Everybody tried. Okay.
I played every, I hated it. I hated it, but that's the expectation. We live in Pennsylvania. You're going to play Little League. You're going to do that. I was a kid who watched movies and TV all the time. And from about 6, I started saying, when I'm on TV, when I'm on TV. So I'm a sponge. There's the copycats. I'm performing. By 10, I'm performing. I'm doing ventriloquist. I had a ventriloquist doll. This is all very embarrassing. I had a ventriloquist doll, and then I started doing impressions in talent shows. And I have a letter. There was a guy named John Gastone who used to be down on Main Street in Bethlehem, and he saw me in a talent show, and he hired me to perform my routine at a function that he was hosting. So I went to that. It used to be the Holiday Inn or whatever off Center Street in Bethlehem, and and he gave me $10.
How awesome is that?
$10.
So there's your first paycheck.
That was my first paycheck, and this is, by the way, good memory for everybody. When you get $10, and I was smart enough to be like, $10, 10 minutes, $1 a minute, and I was $1 a minute. I went home to my father and I said, "Dad, I made $1 a minute. How much do you make?"
He must have loved that.
You can't. These are things to not discuss with your father.
Right. He did not appreciate that.
To this day, if he said, "Well, how much do they pay you to be on Matlock?" I'm like, $10.
That's your standard answer. What is your family's response to this? Because I'm thinking if you're doing all these things, you must have some support.
Well, everybody has a mother, and there's never going to be a greater agent
than your mother.
Ever. And my mom, who would be like, she yelled at us a lot because, we were, boys. But when it came to, I had showed this ability to do, who I was doing you dirty rat. I mean, I'm doing it now. It must sound imagine a 9-year-old boy, doing Jack Benny. Find me a 9-year-old boy who would know what a Jack Benny is,
right.
Even 10 years later. But I watched these guys constantly. So I was always working toward that goal of getting on TV. And something, by the way, remember back then, you're younger than me, but let's say back when I was young, if you were John Wayne, using him as an example, you were this Oscar-winning actor. Mm-hmm. You were also on the Bob Hope special, doing comedy, like sending yourself up, playing the stupid cowboy. You were everywhere. Vincent Price, everywhere. These actors, everywhere. They sang, they danced, they did comedy routines. Everybody. So that's what I was trying to become a well-rounded actor.
Right. There was a lot of versatility.
Yeah.
And I think for a younger listening audience, it's important to remember that we were not living in an age with even cable, let alone, it just wasn't, there wasn't a celebrity around every corner. This was a big, right. And then they had to wear a lot of hats to make it. It wasn't like you got a lot of followers and you were suddenly a millionaire. This was not. This was not
Facebook.
Yeah.
This was.
Some of it was like the necessity is the mother of invention if you were going to be in the arts.
I think so, yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that, look at a guy like James Cagney, if people remember. James Cagney was a dancer, a boxer. He became an actor, and then they were like, well, let's see if he can dance. Let's see what kind of dancer he really is. So you got James Cagney. Imagine Al Pacino playing Scarface and then tap dancing in the next movie. But that's what James Cagney did.
Right.
You know what I mean? All the time. One movie he's dancing, another movie he's killing,
Yeah.
he's shooting. So those actors had a great range, and I think I was very, very much attracted to that range. I spent a lot of time watching horror movies, gothic horror movies, Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, right? So you watch one movie, Karloff's, he's Frankenstein, but you're a kid, so you're not seeing them one, and then one 3 years later, and then one 3 years later. You're a kid, you're watching them every weekend. And so one weekend he's Frankenstein, and the weekend after that, he's Dr. Frankenstein. He's playing that kind of role. And you're like, I'm realizing it's the makeup and the performance, and you could be that guy.
It's like you wanted to pull back the curtain and see all the pieces that went into how that world evolved. And fascinated by it.
I'm sorry if I'm talking.
No, not at all. This is fantastic.
Do you remember James Cagney again played Lon Chaney in a movie called Man of a Thousand Faces? That was maybe kind of once I saw that, you can't. How did you promulgate all this information as a child? At what point did I was able to discern that was that guy and this movie? Cagney plays Lon Chaney, and he has the makeup kit, and when he's dying, he writes Junior on it, and the music goes. So I had a makeup kit, so I could put on rubber noses and make myself a monster. I'll send you pictures, Joe. That's all I did.
We definitely want to show people that. I love
constantly.
that for you, this really was a fascinating craft right away. Like it wasn't about being famous. It wasn't about,
no.
Getting roles. It was about learning the art and the craft in every element. I mean, down to the makeup. In this field. Yeah, that's so cool.
And as an actor, it's not the same anymore because, I do a TV show and it's a guy who was a YouTube star standing next to me. So it's in the day though, everybody was, you were a theater actor, you're a thespian, or you worked in TV.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not really the thespian, I'm the TV actor. And when you hang out, do you ever hang out with, go to the Shakespeare Festival and hang out with people who've studied Shakespeare? These are their conversations. They say, do you know when I was doing the I was doing the speech on the horse in Henry IV? No, it was Henry V. And no, it was Henry IV. It was Henry IV. And you're like, oh, shut up. And I'm just like, I get to be in a monster movie. I'm just happy.
I have to tell you, we had to do a casting one time, very last minute, for a very corporate client green screen graphic project. Okay? That's the basis here. And the Shakespeare Festival was in town.
So you had all those actors.
And we cast one of them.
How did he do?
He was great, but I think he was a combination of a fish out of water / this is the easiest thing I've ever had to do in my life, because here he is reciting Shakespeare and I'm like, just give me like 5 lines of this one thing, and it's on a prompter, and
it's on the brain, it's on the prompter.
I mean, he didn't have to memorize them.
It
was great. He was great. So anyway, that's my experience in those worlds colliding. So I'll tell you that. All right, well, we're going to use this as a chance to take a quick break. We're going to be back with Danny Roebuck. We're going to learn a little bit more about how you became who you are today. Yes, that's what we'll talk about next. Stick with us.
Like a good topic.
There's nothing like wintertime in the Christmas city, but any time of year, Bethlehem's rich history, culture, food, and fun make it a great hangout spot. Take a walk on the artsy South Side, catch a great band at Steel Stacks, or enjoy the quaint history of Hotel Bethlehem. There are so many options, but before you book your trip, head over to Facebook and like Lehigh Valley, PA. Before you know it, you'll have a full itinerary of places you won't want to miss. Welcome back to Unscripted, everybody. I am here with actor extraordinaire Danny Roebuck. Danny, he is a native to Bethlehem. Thank you for being here today.
I'm so excited. It's been so much fun.
Well, you've talked a little bit about growing up here in Bethlehem and how you really found acting and producing and directing and writing very early on, and it really shaped a lot of your childhood. But what happens next? I want to know, how do you break in? Because it's one thing to be a child with a dream. It's another thing to make it as a working actor. And the third segment will go to the jump of being a famous actor, but let's talk about being a working actor. I mean, what happens after high school for you?
Do you know, I think I was always working toward the goal of going to Hollywood. Maybe I thought about New York for a little bit. True story, I went to New York. We had a great regional theater here in the Lehigh Valley called the Pennsylvania Stage Company, which was an equity theater right behind Hess's in Allentown. And I worked in the box office, and I'd be extra in a play every now and again. And I was going to go to New York, and I went to spend the weekend with one of the actors up there. And for the first time in 30 years, there was a snowstorm that was so great. It would have been 1982 maybe, or 83, and I remember Valentine's Day, and they shut down Broadway. Now that's happened more recently a few times, but then nobody.
Never.
And I was. Like, it was a brilliant time to be in New York, because you could subway right in Manhattan and come out, and there was no one there, and the streets were covered with snow. It was magical. But I thought, what do I want to be in the snow for? I'm done.
Right, I can go to California.
I could go to California, and I was doing plays at. There was a guy named Steve Rothman, who was an L.A. director, who came to direct a play there. And I had a couple lines in the play, and Born Yesterday, and I'm only saying it out loud. That's how you remember things, 20 years later. And I said to this guy, we were in the parking lot one day, and I said, should I go to New York or LA? He goes, go to LA. And I was like, okay, well, snow. This guy said I should go to LA, and that was how I decided to go to LA.
I mean, have you ever been to California?
No, I've never been anywhere.
Never been anywhere.
That's a lie.
You've been to New York in a snowstorm.
Give great credit to my father and mother. We would travel often.
Okay.
In a car, we would drive to St. Louis. We would drive to Montreal. We would drive to New Orleans. I mean, he was really good about giving us those kind of experiences.
Get in the car, kids. Yeah. We're going to take the road trip.
We lived at 1504 Chelsea. By 1520 Chelsea, they were already yelling at each other, my mom and dad. By 1530 Chelsea, they were blaming whatever they were yelling on us. So you were just like, kill me now.
Were you in a station wagon for this?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no seatbelt.
This is something kids today will never understand. Yeah. The big station wagon.
With the two kids in the back.
Yep. No seatbelts, the blankets and pillows.
He's touching me. Yeah. He's touching me. Mm-hmm. He's looking at me. Mm-hmm. These terrible things we do to each other.
No entertainment.
Yeah. But so I've been, but I ain't never gone to.
So when you go, do you drive there or do you fly there?
I drove there with. I got married the first time in 1983 to a girl from town. I said, I'm going to Los Angeles. I'm going to do it, and she said, I'm going with you. So I'm going to tell you. A true thing. She was such a great girl, but I didn't know that you couldn't just take someone's daughter
across the country, right? With by the way, really not a job,
right? With nothing. Yeah. So she said she was going with me, and I said, well, then I proposed her. Like I thought that's what I'm saying. Sure. That's the right thing to do. So we got each other out there, and we both the remainder of her life was revealed to us there, but she had to be out there, met a guy after we divorced and had a child, and that wouldn't have happened if she hadn't gone. And my life, of course, happened out there, but we went together, and I didn't know anybody, and that director, he was able to introduce me to one agent, and I went to the agent's office, and the guy's looking at me, and he goes, hold on, I want to show you something. And he pulls out a picture of me. He goes, see this? And I was like, is that me? He goes, no, that's the guy who looks just like you. It's already my client, so I can't have you.
Oh my gosh. And did he really look like you?
No, he pulls out, I don't know how to say it. If somebody pulled out a picture 7 feet away and you're like, where'd this creep get a picture of me?
Wow.
Yeah, crazy.
And at that point, that's like an early experience there. Do you think, what's my next move? I mean,
yeah, you know.
How'd you hustle to make it happen, Danny?
I was so. I really want to tell you it was hard. I think it was God's plan for me, so it wasn't as hard because I didn't let him down. Like, step one, I went to Los Angeles. Like, I didn't expect this to happen in Bethlehem. Step two, every day I got up, I'd read this actor magazine and I'd send my picture out everywhere. Randomly, I joined AFTRA, which is the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. Used to be a separate union than the Screen Actors Guild. I joined that because you could, and I immediately would send out a picture and resume. And by the way, picture and resume, to send it out, I want to tell you, back then, for a guy who didn't have a job, and my wife, she got the job, and we knew that was going to be how it was for a few months. You'd send out a picture and resume. That was $1.90. It was 40 cents for the envelope, $1.20 for the picture.
But another thing's just the effort. And people are forgetting. You don't have a printer next to you. You're going somewhere.
Somebody has to type your resume.
You're getting the staples.
You have to get the
similar in journalism. We had to get the headshots and the res in the back.
You did.
Same
and you sent it out.
Yeah.
So I did that
in an envelope. With a stamp. I like to point these things out because I don't think they can realize anymore.
Listen to what we're saying.
Listen, people, it's easy.
You'll never know.
You'll never know.
How it was. But so I got 4 weeks rather. I got there in February, April, like right in the beginning of April. They called me to be on General Hospital as an extra.
Oh, I love General Hospital.
Yeah, that was a big show, right?
Right.
And everybody.
I wasn't allowed to watch soap operas.
Oh.
That was a big thing. But when I would have sick days and my parents would both go to work, I would watch soap operas. And you know how they unfold so slowly? Yeah. I could get sick like 3 times a year and still know what was going on.
That's right. I'm going to walk in that room, and then you're like, oh, there's she walks in the room. Yes. The thing on General Hospital is the guy, the AD, he thought my name was funny. Where's Sears and Roebuck? Sears and Roebuck, get over here. Sears and Roebuck. So he kept putting me in shots. Well, and at one point then we were dancing. Did you dance Sears and Roebuck? I guess so. So I'm dancing with some girl at some church fair. Okay. So was my first after job. Well, it turned out that's how I got a SAG card. It's very hard to get a SAG card. But I had danced on the show and they upgraded me. So I was now an under 5, not an extra. I had no idea,
what that meant.
What that meant. Yeah.
What I'm hearing here, though, is that you're someone who said yes. So one, you took risk, you took opportunity, and you said yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry for talking too much.
No, you're not at all. But I like that because to me, that is a common theme that I hear from successful people. It doesn't really matter if they're in banking or acting or whatever. The theme is they seized opportunity.
Yeah, you don't. Again, the revelation is there. What do you do? And then, not even fast forward, I hate to even say. So I got there and I left January 20th. Maybe we were there February 15th. Sometime in about August, I sent in a picture and resume for a movie called The Crystal. And it was, some high school teenager, must be younger than 20, which I wasn't, to play high school teenager. And, I sent in my picture and resume, and they had me audition for a little part. And this is another story I think as important as the Sister Kathleen story, speaking exactly to what, giving power to what you're saying. We all read the guy had never done a movie before. So he was reading it like we'd read at the Pennsylvania Playhouse or something, where everybody's in the room watching everybody else read. That's not really how you make a movie. You go in by yourself and read. So they didn't know it. So we were in a room with all these people and all these actors. And he's having me read just this like 4-line part, a high school kid in a class. And I watched one good-looking guy after another good-looking guy read the lead. And the idea was that he'd be a nerd, and then he'd take off his glasses, and then he'd be, good, like Christopher Reeve and Superman. So I watched these guys. God bless them. None of them. The movie wasn't really funny, but none of them found the comedy even in the writing. And we were done. Everybody was done. He said, "Okay, good. Okay, is everybody read what they wanted to read?" And I raised my hand, and he was like, "Yes." I said, "Could I read for the lead?" Okay. And I ended up getting the lead.
What an incredible story. And if you hadn't raised your hand,
if I haven't raised my hand, if I
opportunity.
hadn't, when he, I try to say this. I've been writing this book, which we should talk about after the next break. He asked a question, and the answer, I was not ungracious. I did not say, I want to read for the lead. He said, did everybody read everything they want to read? Like, he asked the question.
But to me, that's the message, right? That he asked the question. And now, as a person in that position, right, to ask the question, do you look back and say, it's important that I stop and say?
Well, you always give an actor opportunity. It's very interesting in Getting Grace. There was a woman we read for something, and she's such a nice person, and she didn't make the cut. And then I bumped into her, and she said, "Oh, I hope you use me, because I could really use it right now." And guess what?
Yeah.
It put her in the movie. Because God, He's talking to you all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And she circled back into your life for some reason.
Yeah, she was being honest. Mm-hmm. It's what she needed, evidently, at the moment, and that superseded the actor who was in front of her.
Also,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. I do, and I think that I don't, like yourself, I don't take the position of leadership or mentorship lightly.
No,
so to me, you've earned the place that you're in, but then you've got to pay it forward. You have to look for opportunities to help you. And it's not always about that product or that job or that client or that movie. Sometimes it's about the journey and the people involved as well. And you've got to remember that. So I love that
100%.
piece. I want to talk a little bit about Getting Grace, because you made a decision to come back and make a feature film in your hometown. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I got this script from this buddy of mine. Sent me the script it came from Michigan. That's where it originated. And I read it. I was like, this is amazing. Now, it was called Bending Spoons. It wasn't Getting Grace, but it had all the bones of Getting Grace. This amazing writer, Jeff Lewis, wrote it. And I knew I had to make it, and the first thing I knew was I had to get it out of Michigan and to Pennsylvania. And when they wanted me to play a part in it, that's why they sent me the script. And I said, I'd actually like to direct it. Really? Yeah. Now, then that was 7 years before we made the movie. That's how long it took. And, I had a lot going on in life. Excuse me. Kids getting older. I'm in a position as an actor where I'm also, the breadwinner in the house when, back, let's say 7 years ago or 9 years ago now. And, I couldn't just take off and make a movie. It would have been impossible. I had 2 kids in Catholic school. So I always had to work. Like, I always had to keep my nose to the grindstone and work. And I constantly would go back to the script. I would constantly tinker with it.
It spoke to you in some way.
I had to do it. And I asked for permission to rewrite it, and Jeff said yes. So he did a pass on it, then I did a pass, then he didn't pass, and then I did a pass. That's how we rewrote the script. But I knew, and I was so, we had a miracle happen that I found a lot of the money here. So that gave me the leverage, I think. And it all worked out. Look, what was supposed to be was. Like, the movie was always going to be in Bethlehem, and it was always going to star Madeline Dundon, and that's how it was always going to be. So all of the other machinations that had to go on were just getting me there. And I'll be honest with you, to really speak to this, I don't want to get emotional, but I do believe it took that long because I had to wait for Madeline to be
the person to be in that role.
And
Maddie's so special. We were able to actually film with her again when she was in the Nutcracker.
Oh, yeah.
And we did the 50th anniversary. And there she was, and they actually taught me to dance. I got to learn to do the, the parents' dance in the beginning.
Oh, yes.
And
wait, did you go on stage and do it?
No, they asked me to, actually, but unfortunately I was unable to do the dates. But I might go back. I learned the dance pretty well, I'm not going to lie. And I'm not known for my dancing. I'm known for dancing poorly, but they were good teachers, and Maddie was right there. So it's just a funny, it all circled back, The Lehigh Valley is... I'm not native to the Lehigh Valley. I've been here 15 years. It's certainly where I'm raising my kids. It's where I've made my really good friends. It's where I've built my business. So it feels like home. but this is a really special place. And people
yes.
who are, do you feel like you always took that with you? You went to LA and you said, this place is, and did you find it to be as special as you thought it was when you came back and made a movie here?
Yes, and I'll tell you that I actually sussed out and found, I live in Burbank, which is the only place in Los Angeles that's like Bethlehem. When I walk out of my house, the mountain's just where the house is. The mountain is outside of my father's house, let's say. You know, there's a mountain there. It's the same. The people are the same. It's working class. It's working class, honest to God, faithful, nice people. It's not the LA that people might see on TV. It's a different enclave. So to me, the Lehigh Valley is kind of like Brigadoon, right? You know, it comes out of the mist every 13 years. And I might be paraphrasing Brigadoon, maybe it's 70, it doesn't matter. But
it is what it does. It is what it feels like here.
Yeah,
it really is. It's a special place.
It doesn't change, but it gets better when it does change.
Yes.
Everyone, I say to people when I meet, I talk to everybody. Actually, I talk to everybody, and I'll meet someone. I actually directed someone to here, and I think they followed through because I made the connection. I was talking to someone. They were trying to figure out what to do with their downtown was dying, and I said, "Is there water near your downtown?" I said, "Yes," and I said, "You must come to Bethlehem. You must see what's possible. You must come." So I think the guy did like this area, the Lehigh Valley, is a beacon to people to see that you could lose the main industry, and it hasn't happened anywhere in Detroit, as far as I know, or in that area. When the car manufacturing left, those places were devastated and never returned.
Yeah, the comeback is one of the great comeback stories in American history.
Absolutely.
I mean, it really truly is. And with that, we are going to take a break before
okay.
Dakota yells at both of us.
All right.
So we'll be back with Danny Roebuck. This is Unscripted with Russo. Any time of year, the Lehigh Valley is an exceptional place for food, drink, and entertainment. Whether you're cooling off from the summer heat at Dutch Springs or shopping for just the right kind of gift at Chris Kindle Market, you will make memories all year round. For more information on what the Lehigh Valley has to offer, check out Discover Lehigh Valley's website at discoverlehighvalley.com. Welcome back, everybody. I'm here with my friend, actor, writer, director, Danny Roebuck. Thank you, Danny, for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We have learned so much about your upbringing in Bethlehem, your calling to this field, your journey, wild journey across the country to LA, and sort of the success you've had since then. You've been a successful working actor for a number of years now. I don't know how many, but a lot.
It's hard to keep track. 35.
And then you made Getting Grace, amazing acclaimed film right here in Bethlehem, which I think was a great experience for the entire area. Lots of people rallied behind you for that. We were lucky enough to film with you on a couple occasions. You used St. Luke's and hospice, so that was a cool experience. But I want to talk a little bit about what's coming up, because you have so many projects in the hopper, so many things that you're working on. First of all, let's talk a little bit about your charity work. So we were just talking about Colby Academy.
Oh yeah,
You give your time to places. You could give your time to a lot of places, and you've chosen to do that for some important institutions and places here in the Lehigh Valley. Why is that? Why do you want to keep giving back to this community?
Well, I feel very strongly that we have to support the art in the Lehigh Valley, and we certainly have to support the kids in the Lehigh Valley, because if we fail at giving them the same life value and life lessons that we learned here, I don't know how they're going to keep Eden going, and we need them to keep Eden going. So the Colby Academy is the first diocesan school for recovering addicts.
And we've been lucky enough to work with them on some of their video needs and commercials and things like that. And it's the first in the country. And it's powerful. It's important.
And you Catholic or not Catholic, the fact that somebody is saying we've got to help these kids when they need the help the most is extraordinary. So I was immediately attracted to the idea of helping them as best we can, and as they grow as a school. I'm sure we'll all be working together to create programs there that elevate the kids. I always talk about, there's this theater that's theater as as therapy. I'm like, no, do Guys and Dolls. Don't dudes. Don't, why is it, let's make their life about not what they were, but what they will be.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's my goal there. Of course, I'll do anything for the diocese because
That's good to hear, because as the person who does a lot of their video work, I might
call me
need a
anytime.
favor.
Look, the simple truth is, I am a product of the education and the faith. The Sisters of St. Joseph of Philadelphia, they make me say that. They were integral in teaching me ethic, moral values, as were my parents.
You were talking about being a good steward of the arts in the Lehigh Valley, and I am fascinated by the fact that I think we have awesome arts here.
Amazing.
We have great theater. We have filmmaking going on. We've got schools and after-school programs, and the Freddie Awards. I mean, we have this unique program here that honors kids in theater the way we honor kids in sports, which I love. And you actually received the Pinnacle of the Arts Award for the Linneys. I was on that committee.
Oh, thank you.
I'm sorry that I voted against you.
Yeah, I know. They told me how it worked out.
And I think that was cool. So these Linney Awards, we've got Arts Quest here, and we honor artists, and we hold up the arts in a way in this community that I think is really special. And as you've traveled the world working in this field, have you found that to be true? Have you found it to be unique?
I think it's completely unique. I'm not any place long enough, let's say, except Los Angeles. But in Los Angeles, I started my own theater company. So it was like I felt a need for theater, and
let's make one.
So we did it just like you did when you were a kid. We're launching a new initiative. We're launching now a new not-for-profit that is art-centric. It's called A Channel of Peace. And if people go to achannelofpeace.org, they'll learn more about it. And, we made Getting Grace through the very gracious help of investors, right? Mm-hmm. And, asking people to invest in a movie, it's, my hair's white, because making those people whole again is a very big concern of mine. I want to try something different. We're gonna make our next movie, The Hail Mary, which is a faith-filled family movie, not Catholic, even though it takes place in a Catholic school. It is a faithful family movie, like Getting Grace was, that promotes positivity and faith. And that's what A Channel of Peace is going to do. We're going to create this not-for-profit. Our mission is going to be to make faith-filled family entertainment, so that that if it's a Channel of Peace production, it's going to be something you can sit down and watch with your kids, and it's still got to be entertaining. So it's going to be real and hopefully dynamic, and like Getting Grace, tell a story that'll make you laugh and cry. I
love that. It's so awesome. I think about the Disney used to do a Disney Sunday night movie.
Yeah, I remember
that.
Sure, of course.
This was something we did as a family.
You'd all
Fairly
sit down
religiously.
And watch it.
I mean, we had gone to mass, we came home, we had a Sunday meal, we did homework, and that was our Sunday night. We watched this movie, and I worry that that's being lost.
Oh no, you should worry. It's completely wrong.
But that's what I love about theater, right? You buy tickets, you go together. It's something you celebrate as a community with your friends, with your family. So the idea of creating content that has that essence in it speaks to me so much. I love that idea.
And you're not, it's hard to get if you said to kids, it's a nice play that's going to make you feel good.
Right.
They're not going to go. But to especially for kids, the first movie, this next movie, and the third movie that'll be out of the gate, the third feature film, are all kid-centric, and it doesn't over elevate the kid. Like, if you watch a Disney Channel today, the kid's the smartest person in the room.
Right.
Now, you and your husband, you have kids, and I don't even know your children, but I can tell you they're not the smartest person in the room.
No, but they certainly like to think.
Yeah, no, of course they do. No, of course they do, because that's what
Yeah.
they're taught on TV. That the kids have all the answers.
Right. We mock the adults. We mock the
Yeah, and especially the dads. Like there's at least a little deference to the moms, but the dads are morons 100% of the time.
Yeah.
So to create a kind of entertainment that is fulfilling. I want to say one other thing that's just occurred to me. So Getting Grace, which I've shown all over the country, and had this amazing experience that filmmakers don't generally get. I'm there often because we partner with funeral homes and we show the movie and we raise more funds. We've already raised $65,000 over. We raised 25 here and 40 more around the country by showing Getting Grace. And you know who loves Getting Grace? Men. And I want to tell you, you ask men how many of them like movies, and I'll tell you 80% of them say, I don't like movies. 80%. So men have, and I think what it is in the movie, in the first place, it's a girl choosing her dad. I think that's a very powerful message. The second place, the guy in the movie is doing what guys do. We solve problems. Women solve problems too. Of course they do. But if you're in a family and you hear a noise downstairs, you're going to say to your husband,
go check it out.
Go check it out.
That's right.
And the job of a dad, and I want to make this clear, job of a dad is to take the first bullet. That's what we're to do. You've got the phone. You're like, I'll have 911 dial. But you go downstairs and you don't know what's down there. And that's what dads do.
And I was raised in a family where the dad always took your hand on the outside facing the street.
Yeah.
So I was told very early, I walk on, you walk inside.
Yeah.
I'm dad. I walk on the outside to protect you so that if whatever biker comes, I get hit. And I think you're right. That's been lost.
I wonder, we walked down the street the other day. I had a woman standing next to me. I don't know if she knew that that's how I aligned us. I still do that. Yeah, the woman's always on the inside. So you're gonna take the first motorcycle hit in your head. That's just what men do. Anyway, I'm not trying to overstimulate men, but what I'm saying is let's make entertainment where the entire family gets something out of it. They laugh, they cry, they learn a lesson. That's
Danny,
what we're going to do with the Channel of Peace.
I love it. Channel of Peace. The Hail Mary is coming in 2020.
2020.
You're in the new Star Wars video game, which also just, come on, that's super cool.
I know.
Coming in November. Cannot wait. I
Yeah,
cannot
people,
wait. It's super exciting.
I'm playing Grease in, it's called Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Star Wars Jedi : Fallen Order. And I've only seen like a minute of me in it, and I'm not like, I'm not that guy who's like, I don't watch my own movies. I want to tell you something. When I watched, I was like, that's me in Star Wars.
I mean, it's the coolest thing ever. Cool. You're talking to someone who planned a trip for our family coming up to see the new Star Wars Adventure Land thing in Disney World.
Yeah, good. Oh, good.
Yeah, that's a whole.
When are you going?
November. It might be out. Maybe I can. I don't know. There's a whole world you can play the games. Oh, this is good. I can be like, I know him.
Yeah, that's my friend.
Very cool. And you are also writing a book. The Audition is the Job.
Yes, The Audition is the Job, and other truths that I've learned in the land of make-believe. And it's filled with, although there's stories like the one I told you about, Cave Girl, my first movie. And it's really a book. The only books for actors now are these two books we read, and you may have read them too. One's called How to Audition, the other's called Audition. They were written in the 70s. But both books somehow have taken the strength from the actor and given it to the people you're auditioning for. And I can tell you that, as you say, you said yes, you answer the call. Why am I a success? I'm not the greatest actor. That's been proven. But that's been proven. But what I am is a hardworking, dedicated. I never come unprepared. I rarely say no. Rarely, not never. Sometimes you must. But I rarely say no. And I have always felt that the audition, from the very beginning, with nobody telling me how to do it, when I auditioned for I went from Cave Girl to River's Edge. River's Edge, I played an 18-year-old boy who killed a girl in high school, and then all the kids come to see the body. It was based on a real story. If you haven't seen it, it's a very powerful movie that completely holds up, right? And I went in, I didn't know how to, I thought, well, they're not going to cast me because, by the way, I'm already 21. I'm not 18. So I greased my hair down and I put on the same kind of clothes I'm wearing in the movie, and I bought a beer, 2 beers really. I bought 2 beers on the way to a 10 a.m. audition. And when I walked in the room, like you had this chair sitting here for me, I walked past the chair and I sat in the corner of the room and I opened the beer and I said to the director, go ahead. And he would, he went and got his video camera, which by the way back then was like picking up,
Suitcase.
your Volkswagen and putting it on your, and he filmed, and he had no idea that I wasn't that person, right? Now nobody told me how to do that. I didn't read that in a book. In fact, the books that were written would tell you
don't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
So by ignoring the advice of these, the out of date advice, I've become a working actor.
I think the thing that when I have the pleasure of getting to interact with you, and I know we joke because we miss each other at
All the
events
time.
often, which is
She
crazy
does it on
because
purpose.
I'm at a lot of events in the Lehigh Valley, but sometimes I find out you're on the guest list and I say,
I'm not going. Yeah.
next time.
Yeah.
But I really do want to say, Danny, I think that the thing that you bring to the table in every situation is authenticity and heart. And I don't think you can make that up. And I don't think you can act that out. I think it is who you are and you bring it. And we're so blessed to have you here in the Lehigh Valley. And thank you for keeping this as your home. Thank you for being so generous to people like me and the community and all of your fans. We really appreciate it.
Well, you're very kind to say that.
Before you go, we do a rapid fire session.
Here
You
we
have
go.
not been given these questions,
No,
correct?
it's called Unscripted. So no.
Here we go.
Okay.
Who would you choose to star as you in a movie about your life?
Jay Leno.
If you could pick a certain skill, any skill instantly, you could pick it up instantly that you don't currently possess, what would it be?
Tap dancing.
Tap dancing, good one. What would the title of your autobiography be? Oh, wait, you're writing it.
No, that's actually a book on how to. The title of my autobiography, I think, would be Star Adjacent.
Star adjacent.
Because I've made all this money standing next to the guy more famous than me.
I love it. Please write that book. That's great. Okay, you can invite 3 guests to dinner. Who would they be?
Tony Randall, Boris Karloff, and Dick Van Dyke.
Excellent. All right, what's the best place you've ever traveled to?
Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
What's a place you've never been that is top of your bucket list?
The Vatican, Rome.
You have not been to the Vatican in Rome?
I know.
Ooh, okay.
I was.
You got to change that.
By the way,
I didn't expect that answer.
All you have to be is an adult Catholic male to be the Pope. I thought maybe
that would happen, and you'd get invited.
This is 19th Cardinal said the third guy from Matlock.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
I'd like to fly.
What is your latest Netflix binge? What do you love watching? Doesn't have to be Netflix. Just
okay. My latest binge. I watched the same thing for 50 years. The Odd Couple. I watch it all the time.
All right, now I have to tell you that something I like to watch all the time is a show you've been on, which is Law and Order. I'm a total Law and Order junkie. Can be anytime, day, night, doesn't matter. Any year, any episode, any cast.
You turn it on. By the way, Law and Order came out. I played a guy who killed these poor Mexican people in a truck in the middle of the desert. The day before was a Boston legal show where I killed a Mexican man who tried to break in.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, one after the other.
Typecast.
Yeah, my gardener quit the next day. I haven't had a glass of water without spit in it since then in any restaurant in anywhere.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. All right, last question. What is your best holiday memory?
Best holiday memory was always going. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. The best holiday memory, I got to be Santa Claus at the Lehigh Valley Mall because I was writing a script about it. So they let me take all the worst shifts. And the last shift, the last day, somebody wanted to see Santa Claus and they missed him, and then I found him and gave him the message from Santa Claus.
You did?
Yeah.
Well, on that note, Danny Roebuck, it's been so awesome having you here. Thank you for taking the time to do it. We wish you the best of luck with the Hail Mary, with the book. We'll be following along.
Thank you.
To all of our listeners, thanks for tuning in. This has been Unscripted with Russo. Until next time.
Thank you. I'm just going to say it one more time, achannelofpeace.org.
You heard it here first.